Our journey begins with the Greek Civil War, which spanned from 1946 to 1949. This was the first major conflict in the Cold War, where the United States, under the Truman Doctrine, provided significant support to the Greek government to suppress the communist insurgents. A significant point to remember about this war is that it paved the way for America's policy of containment, a strategy to prevent the spread of communism worldwide. Next, we move to Asia, specifically Korea. The Korean War, lasting from 1950 to 1953, was a direct clash between the communist North Korea, backed by China and the Soviet Union, and South Korea, supported by the United States and other Western countries. The armistice signed in July 1953 resulted in the creation of the Korean Demilitarized Zone, a buffer between the two Koreas, which still exists today. Shortly after, the Vietnam War erupted, lasting from 1955 to 1975. This war epitomized the brutal reality of the Cold War's hot wars. It was a fierce battle between North Vietnam, supported by the Soviet Union, China, and other communist allies, and South Vietnam, backed by the United States and other anti-communist countries. The war ended with the withdrawal of the United States and the unification of Vietnam under communist rule. In the Middle East, the Yom Kippur War of 1973 saw the Soviet-backed Arab coalition, led by Egypt and Syria, launch a surprise attack on Israel during the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur. This war led to a strategic realignment in the region, with the United States becoming the primary backer of Israel. In Africa, we find the Angolan Civil War, a brutal conflict that lasted from 1975 to 2002, involving multiple foreign interventions, primarily by the Soviet Union and the United States. This war was a clear illustration of how the Cold War could ignite conflicts far from the main players. Moving to Europe, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, from 1979 to 1989, was a watershed moment in the Cold War. The United States, along with other Western countries, supported the Mujahideen resistance against the Soviet forces, marking a significant escalation in the Cold War. In Central America, the Contras War in Nicaragua during the 1980s saw the United States supporting the Contras against the Sandinista government. This conflict was emblematic of the ideological struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. Lastly, we have the Soviet bloc revolutions of 1989, a series of peaceful protests that led to the fall of communist governments in Eastern Europe. These revolutions signaled the end of the Cold War as they marked a clear defeat for the Soviet Union and the triumph of democracy. These hot wars, in their brutal and tragic ways, shaped the course of the Cold War and the world as we know it. They were the battlegrounds where the ideological struggle between communism and democracy was fought, where the world held its breath, hoping that these regional conflicts would not escalate into a global catastrophe. These wars remind us of the fragility of peace and the catastrophic consequences of ideological extremism. As we continue to navigate the complexities of our modern world, let these lessons from the past guide our way forward.